Hi, this is Glenn with Crimson Lotus Tea, and we are here today with Pacific Northwest artist and pu'er tea fan, Michael Macdonald, also known as Alchemichael online. What do you got to say today, Michael?
Ahoy, hoy.
Oh,
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Yeah,
yeah, it is.
hope everyone's having a good holiday and whatever your year was.
Yeah,
A good year.
last day of the year. Might be my last session. Lamo and I might get a little something in later. Uh,
Oh, I'll definitely have more tea.
Oh yeah, you drink
And scotch.
you
I'm
drink a
drinking
lot. You
scotch.
drinking some scotch. All right, let me.
Yeah, we bought some bottles of scotch over Christmas, so
Oh, nice.
I'm
Anything of interest?
I don't know, 18-year-old Glenlivet.
See,
Nothing too fancy.
all the good scotch starts with my name. That's all you got to remember. All the good
That's right.
scotch
Yeah.
starts with Glenn. So
In Scotland, we love a valley. We
you
love
love your
a
Glens.
bearded valley.
Yeah,
You bearded man.
yeah. I'm big in Scotland.
Big, huge.
Awesome.
Glens and Heathers are
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, right, exactly. Cool. So yeah, so Alchemichael's the artist for Altered State, which I almost have on screen right about there.
I could see it
Get that
perfectly.
up to the yeah. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There we go. This is Altered State. This is amazing art.
We did that.
We did.
That's a collaboration.
It was a collaboration, as was the last one that we worked on together, which is Stargazer. So Stargazer was also a collaboration. We kind of did. So yeah, you did the front, and I organized the stars in the back. So if you guys don't know, this Stargazer is autumn material, and it was when I had Michael work on the art for it, I had him design me like a whole bunch of like random stars, and then I arranged those stars in the back in the exact constellation pattern that would have been in the Yunnan night sky from the location this was picked on the night this or on the day that time this was picked. So I just thought that was kind of a cool little extra touch, and it kind of tied into the art on Stargazer. But we can do another session with Stargazer some other time. We are here to talk about. We're here to talk about Altered State, and if you guys don't know, Altered State was a blend that we put together that I wanted. I wanted to make my focus to be on something that was just super heavy hitting from a tea energy perspective. So generally, when I'm putting a blend together, I focus on aroma and body and taste and aftertaste and all of the stuff that you would expect in a nice big full body well-rounded pu'er tea. But in this case, I wanted to focus on the stuff that just gave me like the highest amount of tea energy, and then worked it into something that was interesting. So when we were doing Stargazer, you had floated me a couple ideas, and you showed me one idea about like a robot with a bunch of arms, like holding different stuff.
That was my first idea.
That was your first idea for Stargazer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause, just when you said, "Hey, do you want to do like a rapper for a Bing Cha?" And you said, "Oh, like sci-fi," because I do all the sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
That was what the I had like a Bodhisattva robot was what came to mind.
Yeah.
The Gong Fu Cha accoutrement, all the stuff,
Right.
all the gear.
Yeah.
Because I tried it, all the stuff I drew was like a very traditional Chow Zhou style
Yeah.
tea making.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did that, and we decided to go a different direction with Stargazer, but it just kind of like put this little seed in my brain. I was just like, that other design's so good. Like we could totally do something with that. But I really wanted the. For me, it's important to make the tea and the art and the design kind of mesh. I mean, I want there to be kind of a synergy going both ways. I want people to see a design and imagine what it's going to taste like, and then having the tea kind of match that. I see them as like two sides of the same story, and so I really wanted something that matched well with I don't know, just this concept of a space multi-handed tea brewing robot entity kind of thing. And so yeah, then yeah, just the name Altered State jumped in my head one night, I think, and then I was just like, well, we can do this, because I've been wanting to put together like a super tea energy heavy blend.
What is that?
And yeah, it is. So tell us about your teaware. You guys probably can't see it behind him, but Michael has a big collection of teaware. Look at that. Look at that.
See some tea junk.
Look at that. And that's not just like ordinary like street level pots. He's got good stuff. A lot of stuff.
No, even the dishes are Sheng Dynasty. I ain't messing around.
Yeah, no, I can tell.
I meet the right people and they give me cool stuff or sell me it cheap. So
yeah. So you're in Vancouver, and Vancouver has a big tea scene, has a big pu'er scene even. I mean, probably, a lot of the Chinese, when Hong Kong was taken over from, or given back to China, Vancouver was one of the biggest destinations, and so a lot of these people probably bought a lot of their tea and their culture and their pu'er collections even back in the 80s. So just tell me about the pu'er scene in Vancouver, how it looks from your side.
Vancouver has had a Chinese population for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Part of the original population of the city. So there's quite a big culture, and so I study tea here with a guy named Daniel Liu, who owns the Chinese tea shop.
Yeah.
So he ends up buying old tea from a lot of old people or young people whose parents have passed away, and they have a collection of tea and just don't know what to do with it. Because there's a lot of tea in the city. There's a big tea scene, big pu'er scene.
So you work for Daniel sometimes, right? Or you work sometimes at his shop, or you brew tea there?
I go to his shop.
Okay.
I brew tea with him, or I do stuff like when he is serving at like the tea festival. I'll help him out. Like like a student does. But
that's where we met, right? Probably, I think, the tea festival. Yeah. So you were saying you work at a tea shop as well, right?
Oh yeah, I work at a tea shop, tea house here in Vancouver as well. That's owned by some mainland Chinese women. And they have a very beautiful place and give me access to cool teas and stuff like that as well. Like I get a good deal there too, so it allows me to get some stuff that I normally wouldn't get.
That's nice, and that helps. I think we started going to the Vancouver Tea Festival. I don't know, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and I think maybe it was through Daniel that you and I met, and we just kind of chatted about some stuff.
I recognize you from your YouTube channel. I like your beard is not mistakable.
No, it's not.
I saw you and I was like, oh, that's the dude from Crimson Lotus. So I went and said hi to you. I liked your videos. You did. I think back then, I think it was one of the first videos I saw. Might have been the dragon kiln video.
Oh maybe. yeah, from Jen Shui.
Something like that. But I remember it standing out. So because that was enjoyable because I like teaware and I like the process of making not only tea and teaware. You know? Like I like how everything is done. So it was cool to be able to get some neat images of that.
Nice. That's awesome. So we were talking a little bit before the stream started about your current tea drinking habits. What do you find yourself drinking a lot of these days?
Oh, like I was saying, most tea that I drink is aged, and by aged I would be more than 15 years. I don't drink that much the fresh stuff. Like you were saying, the fresh has a flavor that when it ages, it doesn't have.
It's not.
And I feel the other way. Like it doesn't have what I'm looking for
until it gets to a certain point.
A certain age.
A lot of it's just.
If it's just stored really wet, maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah, a lot of it's just. Okay, I'll go ahead.
Oh no, go on.
No, yeah, a lot of it, for me is just because we're more on the producing side instead of like the finding old stuff side. So I mean that's it just kind of came about that way. I spend all of my time drinking really young sheng, and so it just kind of vibes with me. But super young sheng, it's not so much like a flavor; it's more like a in essence a vibrance, something that's really hard to describe. And it doesn't happen with all of the really young sheng, but it's just like you get it every now and then, and it's just like, oh gosh, it just feels so good. And then it's good. Jake, Jared asked me to up Michael's volume. Let me give that a try right here. Sure, thank you, Jared. Thanks for letting me know. Gotcha. Let me know if that's any better. I can kind of control it from this side here.
Is this better? Can you hear me now, Jared?
Yeah, this is Jared Mcfarlane. He's also a Pacific Northwest local. He lives just down the street from us. Comes by for tea often, COVID permitting. And so
Mcfarlane. Spawn.
Yeah, you guys might be related.
I draw comics.
Yeah. So speaking of comics and art, how did you get started in art?
Oh, I just always been since I was a wee boy.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever done. Yeah, that's it. Just been part of, I guess, my personality always.
Did you take art classes when you were younger, or?
No, not at all. Not at all. I
Okay.
didn't take an art class until like grade 10, I think, in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Primarily
I
work with pen and ink and stuff like that, or?
Well, I paint. I use acrylic and oils. I can sculpt. I can do the whole deal. But I usually work in pen and ink because that's my favorite.
Nice.
It's like immediate reaction. Everything's it's immediacy, and I like the way the lines look a lot.
That makes sense.
A physical sensation from looking at them, you know.
That makes sense. Jared made some additional comments. Jared is as Scottish, but his dad is Canadian, and he has relatives in Vancouver, so he's definitely a Northwest logo. We got somebody else from Canada. Wes says hi from Winnipeg, and Joshua Poblano missed the beginning, but he's in the chat now. So thank you for finally showing up.
Hello, welcome everyone.
So I get a lot of Mobius vibes from your stuff. Is Mobius an influence in your artistic?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
For me, it's French comics. Jacques Tardy, Mobius. Oh my God! I just kind of woke up. So there's a lot of French names in my head. Messier or a lot. I like the French because I like classical illustration.
Yeah.
And French comic artists traditionally have kept that, whereas American stuff got hyper stylized or whatever, you know.
I can see that.
So I like when I was a kid, Tintin,
yeah.
Hergé.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my favorite. That's like.
So I didn't even know who.
Remy.
I didn't even know who Mobius was, or maybe if I did, I didn't know who Mobius was until I watched the semi-documentary Jodorowsky's Dune. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I've been a fan of Jodorowsky and Mobius. I've been fans of since I was a teenager.
Yeah. So you clearly had an earlier influence than I did. I also thoroughly loved comics growing up.
You watched Willow and maybe the He-Man movie or The Abyss or Alien.
Oh, did Mobius have hand in all of those?
Every one of those.
Nice. Okay. Well, then he was right there with me all along.
That's right. Yeah. Most people don't even know that Mobius did designs for like The Abyss. The aliens and some of the submarine work and stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Or Fifth Element, of course.
Oh, nice.
Which looks like
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, him and a guy named Mézières.
Yeah.
If you look, the new Luc Besson movie that came out. What do they call it? It's Valerian.
Yeah.
So that's a comic by Mézières. That in fact, George Lucas ripped off a bunch of to make Star Wars. Like even the getting frozen in carbonite is straight out of Mézières.
Yeah, the deeper I got into
George Lucas is a genius. But.
The deeper I got into sci-fi, or the deeper I get into sci-fi, you start to see more and more and more of where everybody takes stuff from. Like it wasn't until I got into like the fourth book in the Dune series when I'm like, he's pretty much Jabba the Hutt. It's just like, he's got this repulsor thing that slides him around. He's a big giant worm. I'm like, yeah.
Sounds a lot like it.
And then
I don't mind that because like even the Star Wars is kind of like Indiana Jones. It's a pulp series.
Yes.
Like it's
space opera.
More, fantasy, but it's kind of like a weekly radio play. It's
I can see
Flash
that.
Gordon. That's what to me when I think of Star Wars. That's what I think of. I don't look at it the way I think some people do, like this giant epic. I'm like, nah, it's just like these, Saturday morning, like adventures, right? That's the fun part.
Somebody made a
comment. Got a medal.
Somebody made a comment about your kettle. You want to give us a quick little focus on your kettle there and see what you got? So is this cast iron? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's a cast iron kettle, and
look
it's
at
got a village with a little river and a boat, and a piece of wood with a mushroom growing out of it on the other side.
That's gorgeous. And you're heating that over a induction element there?
No, infrared. I don't use induction on iron.
Gotcha.
I would recommend not to. It can warp the iron, but
gotcha.
I use an infrared burner. I'd show you, but it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I use infrared because it's like the closest to coals I can get with it in my apartment without like burning my house down.
Without starting a fire in there. Yeah. Somebody made
it's carpeted in here too, so.
Yeah, your landlord would not appreciate you burning it down. It's like, man, it was just tea.
Yeah, it's just burning charcoal in my living room.
Yeah. That's so the first time we went to China was in 2013, and one of the first places we went was to Shangri-La, which is where all Lamu's family is from, northwest corner of Yunnan. And literally like the night before we got there, because Shangri-La has this amazing like old town, like buildings from Qing Dynasty practically, just ancient, all like old style construction, everything. And yeah, basically like the night before we got there, some lady wasn't managing her coals and pretty much burned it all down. So like
awesome.
Yeah, really, 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 really great timing. But they've rebuilt most of it in like the old traditional construction techniques, which is always so fun to see. Like when even like especially in Japan does the same thing. They keep the old construction techniques alive, and then anytime like a castle burns to the ground, heaven forbid, they just like bring out all the guys that know how to do it, and they teach the next generation and build it again.
Pavilion.
Yeah.
In Japan, the Golden Pavilion, they're like, it's been around forever, and that's like the 5th time they've built it because they burned it so many times.
It just keeps burning down.
It's George Washington's axe all over again.
Yeah. So, so I guess for myself, without knowing that I was seeing Mobius-related things when I was into comic books and stuff, probably the first comic book artist where I really knew like by name that I really liked the stuff that they did was in Frank Miller's Dark Knight, like early, and like Frank Miller Ronin.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the first ones where I was just like, wow, okay, for me, like, I was getting from the library.
Ronin's heavily influenced by Mobius too.
I can totally see that now. But like when I was like 12 or whatever and renting it from the library, I didn't know that, and I didn't see because I didn't have anything else. There was like just only a handful of comic books I could get from the library. My mom didn't really like me hanging out at comic book shops, so I didn't really get a chance to go and see stuff there. So I could find what was at the library, and they happened to have like Frank Miller's Ronin, Frank Miller's Dark Knight, and so I just checked those things out and just read those things just repeatedly, and just something about his specific artistic style didn't feel to me like every single other like Marvel and DC comic, which all kind of looked the same to me at that point in time. So that's where I started kind of getting into more interesting, at least getting into comics from like an artistic perspective. So
I hung out at the comic book shop when I was like 8.
Yeah, not surprised.
I didn't really get super into them until like I was probably around 10.
Okay.
I'm another friend. I met my buddy Dwayne when I was a kid, who I'm still friends with today. He was like, I would draw all the time, and then one day he was like, "Why don't you try drawing comics? You could draw comics."
Yeah.
And he drew comics, and so I was like, "Yeah, I bet I could." So I did. and just kind of kept doing it. Because I like sci-fi, and I like to, I like to create little characters and stuff. So,
yeah, I like, if you guys aren't following, if you're not following Alchemichael on Instagram, you probably should, because you post a lot of fun little sketchbooky type characters and things like that, and it's always kind of fun to fun to see that.
Or stuff that I just haven't drawn the whole thing yet.
Yeah, but that's fine, because people like to see that. Joshua Poblano says he went to his comic book shop today. What did you buy anything, Josh? What did you
get?
What are you?
Fanboy.
Yeah, let an artist critique your tastes. Put him on the spot. Get some stress.
Oh, that's a good tea, man.
Yeah, no, this is
making good stuff.
Well, thank you for making a concession and drinking something so young. I've got it's got some nice color here.
I drank this not too long ago as well. I busted it out really late at night too, which was kind of weird. But.
This one's a lot of fun to have a session with people live, like at a tea festival or something, when they're not really expecting the energy side of things, and we get some really fun reactions when we're drinking it at the tea festivals, which is entertaining. So what is your experience or relationship with tea energy? How do you see that?
Oh, well, because I drink a lot of old tea, I'm a mellow dude.
Yeah.
So like all that, the old tea is usually fairly chill, depending, because I do have some bricks that are that are undrinkable, kind of. They're just so smoky and strong, or a tuo cha from
Shagwan or something. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just trying to spit out there. Yeah, because I drink a lot of old tea, so that the energy in it is a little more grounded and mellow most of the time, like an old man, like chilling with an old man.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the young tea is like, you're sweating. It's pretty hype.
Yeah, no. Well, it'll be interesting to see, how tea. Oh yeah, sure.
Really surprising.
That's what we're doing. Yeah, my wife's just saying Altered State she was surprised how good it is, because she also drinks mostly old tea. She likes old show pu'er mostly, but it blew her away too.
Nice.
I really like it. Like it has kind of like not only its energy, but it's got like a good throaty quality, and it's hard to explain, but I usually describe it as not the flavor, but the sensation of licorice. It's like this kind of a mouthfeel that I like, that certain sheng pu'er has. Is this Huckeye? Where's this from?
I never revealed any of the blending details. Oh. It's from a handful of different places. Maybe as many as 4, somewhere around there. I think 4 or 5. Basically, like I really wanted to focus on the teas that just really gave me like a high energy tea energy reaction. And so when we were working with some different farmers, I was just like, all right, like everything else aside, for you guys, like what have you produced this year that gives you like a really high tea energy reaction? And every now and then somebody would be like, yeah, actually, like we got this one batch of stuff that we did, and it just was like crazier than the rest. And I'm like, well, I want to see that stuff. And so once I was able to find a handful of different sources that also gave me that reaction, then I just tried to combine them creatively. So if there's good throat feel in there, that wasn't like the intended focus, but I'm glad that it's there. But yeah, I know what you mean, because generally that's actually is something that I do look for when we are blending. I want to have something that has a nice throat feel and mouth feel and stuff. Of course,
cooling in the mouth and a nice
all right
in the throat.
Joshua got back to us with his list for you to critique. Family Tree, Gideon Falls, Colonel Weird, Nail Biter Returns, and The Picture of Everything Else.
Jesus, I don't know what any of those are.
And neither do I. I must be out of the loop as well.
They sound like independent comics to me, but
I think the most newest, is that the way to say it? The most modern comic that I recently got into was maybe is it called Saga? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you'd probably like Saga. Have you ever read Prophet?
I
My friend made Prophet. Two of my friends, and you should check that out if you like weird ass sci-fi.
yeah. Let me
Stuff will blow you away.
see if I certainly like.
You might remember Prophet from Image Comics when you were a kid, but this is like it. The original Prophet series ended at issue 20, and
Yeah.
my friend restarted it at issue 21.
All right, I will.
20 years later.
I'll check that out. I could go for a new comic book thing, but
The other one I would recommend is if you like Jodorowsky's ideas, you
Yeah.
should check out Mcfarlane.
Mcfarlane.
Mcfarlane
I'm making new tabs for these, and anybody else who's into comic
nice.
books do the
I
same
would
thing.
especially recommend Metabarons. That's something that I
Wait, it was
actually really
Meta or Mecca?
Meta, like Beyond or whatever.
Yeah.
Metabarons.
Metabarons. Sure. I will check that out.
It's watercolor painted, but
Oh, that's
and
pretty.
written-
That's pretty
watercolor
cool.
Painted by Juan Jimenez and written by Alejandro Jodorowsky, the guy who did.
So Ro says that all
old movies.
she has read is Walking Dead. She feels like an amateur. Well, now you've got a nice fat list of really cool stuff to find.
You might not like a crazy sci-fi compared to Walking Dead, no.
Yeah. E says Prophet is great. Joshua says, yeah, they're all independents, but Joshua really liked Saga. Jared's got a question for you. What's a good comic book to check out for people that have never been into comics?
Oh, I don't know. It would depend on
Yeah.
kind of like what movies you like. You know, like comics are a medium. It's,
Yeah.
You know, it's like so you can find whatever you want. There's Japanese comics about fishermen, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, like a single guy fishing,
Yeah.
not like a guy on a boat having an adventure.
Yeah.
Or like ping pong comics.
I
This is
used
actually
to-
ping pong by Teo Matsumoto. It's pretty cool. So
I used to work right across the street from Elliott Bay Bookstore down in Pioneer Square in Seattle, and so I'd get off work at 5 and I'd just walk right across the street and I'd just start like digging through all their comics. And back then I made enough money I could actually afford to buy whatever comics I wanted. And now I find comics misleadingly expensive. I start looking at comics the same way I look at tea. I look at tea dollars per gram. I look at comics like cents per page. I was just like, man, well, see this one here, this one's $20, but it's only got like 15 pages, whereas this one here is like $25, but it's got 200 pages. Like, I'll go for that one because I get like.
it's a weird way to look at art.
That's
but, yeah.
it's when you've got a limited budget, you see how far it can go. And I used to have these conversations with the security guard that worked in our building because he just thought me spending money on comics was the absolute stupidest thing possible. He just thought like that comics were just an absolute waste of time. But I eventually, I think it was there was a comic book biography of Johnny Cash or something. I just thought it was super cool. I picked it up, read through it. And so I'm sitting there talking to the security guard. I'm like, well, okay, so I get it. You think it's a total waste of time, whereas, like something like a movie isn't or something like that. I mean, just imagine that the time and effort it would take for somebody to go through your entire life and draw it all out by hand, page by page, and it captured like an entire experience of what it was to be you. And it completely changed how he thought about comic books, and he was able to see it as a medium after that.
What you said there about the time, that's like one of the things that I ponder about it a lot, and a lot of comic artists I know think about, because it takes a long time to make one page, right?
A long time, yeah.
Yeah, for some people it's like 3 days or some shit to make a single page.
Yeah.
So you only have a limited amount of pages you get to make in your life, guy. So
True.
You gotta be specific, and that's why you should look at them more like per page and not what's on them.
Yeah.
Because even like that one page, if it's one image, may have taken that person a week,
Yeah.
Whereas someone else could pull it off. Like that Mobius could draw very, very fast. So like Kirby also was. These are prolific people
I'm in the category
Yeah,
of
like-
taking a long time to draw things. I did try and help a friend.
Over the past 5 years, I think I've done like 6 issues or something.
Yeah.
7 issues. You know,
Yeah.
Like not, that's not true. A little more than that, but
I watched.
not too much.
So when I was when DVDs were all the rage, they came out with this mega set of like all 4 like Alien movies in one box set. This is back when box sets were just getting started, like late '90s, and I was super excited. So I got it, and it came with like this special like extras DVD. And the extras DVD was basically just like following Giger around as he did what Giger does. And there's this one scene where
These are weird.
he really is, but and I kind of was like, okay, well, like he's visionary, but he's weird. But like I never really thought about just the mechanics of how he takes what's in his head and puts it out onto paper. Because when I do that, like I've got to plan ahead, and I do like pencil sketches, and and I work and I build and I build and I build and I build. He was sitting there with an airbrush on a blank canvas, just literally just like line by line, like he's printing out what's in his brain. And I was just so thoroughly impressed with that. And it was like a massive, like alien masterpiece. And he was just like, it was like he was a printer, and he could just, from his brain to his hand, just literally just put it out. And I was just really impressed with that, because I absolutely cannot do that. Like I've got to build. And I was just like, wow, that was just, and then like 3 hours later, he's got like a 8-foot tall, like alien. He literally just airbrushed straight. It's like blew my mind. Let's see. Oh, you were gonna show me something?
Question for a comic to recommend for someone who doesn't read
Yeah.
too much. This would be pretty good.
Move it up
So
just a
this is
scratch.
something-
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
You see that?
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Seconds by
Seconds
Brian
by
Lee
O'Malley.
O'Malley. So Jared
Brian
McFarlane,
O'Malley.
give that a try. Let's see.
If you've seen the movie Scott Pilgrim, it's the guy who wrote the comic for that, but it's not like Pilgrim. It's a little different, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. There's some other weirder, like there's another book called Now of Brown I would recommend, which is an interesting book about like autism.
Oh, interesting.
But, it's done by the guy who did his name's escaping me right now, but he's the guy who designed Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Yeah, like all the Dark Knights from the newer Star Wars.
Yeah.
He did a lot of the designs and the bounty hunters and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
He's incredible. Like in the sketches, you can see the texture of the cape. Like that little squares of waffling of the cape.
Yeah.
Like that guy. He put detail into that shit.
I actually
They
did.
kept it.
I liked the. I actually kind of liked Kylo Ren. Actually, I liked him more. I know there were some people that didn't, but I liked him more until he started like.
Design-wise, I love it all.
Yeah, I liked him more when he just kept the mask on all the time. I don't know. I loved the mask.
Vader.
I loved the mask. But let's see. Heather says.
I do.
Her kid loved Hikaru no Go, the series about the kid and the Go playing Ghost. She says they need a tea-centered series of some sort, an adventurer who travels across Eurasia in search of tea and fights bandits or some shit. So yeah, if you got,
I bet you there is something.
Yeah, there probably-
I bet you there is something.
there probably is. Well, yeah, and all your free COVID time, go ahead and tackle that project. Yeah, that's basically. Marco Polo, basically. That's the comic. Tell the comic of Marco Polo. Marco Polo made it down to Yunnan, or he talked about making it down to Yunnan. Actually, there's some discussion of whether Marco Polo, like whether it was a conglomeration of stories or whether it was really like a real person who literally did all these things, because he would describe Yunnan in ways that didn't make sense to anybody. He talked about these salt mines, and he was very specific about where the salt mines were, and people are like, yeah, there's no salt mines there. But within the last 5 years, they actually have found the things that he was talking about there. And so now they're like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe he actually did get to Yunnan. So I thought that was kind of a fun twist.
Yeah, I always thought that it was like half truths.
Yeah,
I would assume.
I'm sure it is.
If I was a writer around a bunch of illiterates, that's what I would write like too.
Right. And you
Make
see
up a
that.
lot
you see that sort of stuff even in like the American West. You had authors who would like travel around and try to capture the cowboy essence and just find somebody who was close to the image and then just embellish it as much as they could and then sell their like dime novels or whatever. I guess you still find that sort of stuff with clickbait news articles and stuff like that. You get a grain of truth and then a pile of.
Even Watson did it to home.
Sure. Yeah, no, but a tea related comic series would be pretty fun. Torn Ham made a comment about the musical score of Alien by Jerry Goldsmith that they think is wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
For the Alien is that's the best in the series. That's the best.
The first one, number one. I know I'm a fan of Bill Paxton. I like Bill Paxton in Aliens.
I like Bill Paxton too. Game over, man. Game over.
We're all gonna die. Yeah.
He's even in Predator 2.
He's in everything, and I think as much as I like him in
True Lies is his best role when he pisses his pants.
Oh, dude, he's so awesome. He's so awesome, and he's been in just so much. What was
when he passed? That was shocking.
It really was. Shoot, what was the he was in the movie with Tom Cruise 5, 6, 7 years ago. About the one with a shoot, why can't I think of that? Somebody will get it in the chat. Something tomorrow. Blah 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 blah.
Oh,
kind of like the Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, he's the he's his like CO or sergeant or whatever he gets assigned to in boot camp. I think
don't remember that movie.
that was Bill Paxton, right? I think that was Bill Paxton. Double check. Somebody in chat will Edge of Tomorrow, Bill Paxton. No, he's got the best.
Actually, I always think that also the smarmy guy who says, "Oh, we'll build a campfire, sing a couple of songs." Those are the lines that get stuck in your head from a movie. Hey, Vasquez, you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you?
I really like that, and I liked how StarCraft is one of my favorite games, and I love how they just pulled like liberally straight like quotes from Aliens like right into like all the different characters and stuff like that. Like all the landing ship, the drop ship stuff in the game StarCraft is all like pull quotes like straight from alien drop ship on that planet. Yeah, it was Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton is the master sergeant, and I think my favorite quote of his in there is because Tom Cruise is trying to like buddy up to him, and because Tom Cruise can tell he's an American or something like that. He's like, "Hey man, like you're from America, right?" He's trying to like get a little rapport in, and he stops him. He's like, "No sir, I'm from Kentucky." And I was just like, okay, that's great. No, you should watch it again. Bill Paxton is great. I actually really enjoy that movie. So we were talking about games. You do like to play games. You find yourself playing a lot of games lately, but you've not played Cyberpunk 27.
Yeah.
COVID. That's your stay at home COVID relief. It's probably smart. I think games have actually helped a lot of people through the COVID stuff.
Oh my God, I put like in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
I went to that game and I put like 300 plus hours into it. Yeah, I'm a completionist though, so I'm gonna
do it all.
Get out perfect ranking on every board, do all the weird side operations.
Yeah.
Any special interest stuff, and yeah, I'm a little insane about it.
Lucy just jumped into the chat and she said, "I heard games. Now I am here." So yeah, we chat a little bit about games and the different streams and stuff like that I've been doing because I like to play games, but I don't usually have as much time to do it. But some people know on the stream that I've gifted myself with a playthrough of Cyberpunk 2077 and the time it takes to do that. You should see if your machine can. You should see if your machine can run it because I think
I'm gonna check it out because I was looking into it anyway. But right now,
yeah.
I think I'm going to download a mod.
Okay.
For Metal Gear Solid 5 called Infinite Heaven.
Okay.
The bases in Metal Gear are called Heaven.
Okay.
So that's kind of the joke. There's no angels in our heaven. is
Gotcha.
what the guy Kazakura Miller says. So it's like a mod that allows me to change the difficulty on everything and make much harder characters into different boards and costumes. And there's a certain when you start the game, like when you go into a mission, you can choose what weapons you have, and you're always stuck with a gun. You have to have this machine gun with you, and this mod will actually allow me to go in with no weapons. So you play what's called OSP, on-site procurement, where you pick all your weapons up in game.
Okay.
Like when you're really nerdy about these stealth games, that's what you want to play, right? You want to be able to be the champ.
You would really appreciate. You would really appreciate how you can play Cyberpunk 2077, because it gives you an infinite number of options, and pure absolute stealth is one of them. And it actually.
I'm getting. It's funny. I'm getting a lot of messages right now. My favorite MC passed away today.
Oh.
I've been getting a bunch of messages about it. So if you hear dinging, I'm
Ding.
sorry. Just everyone I know is like, "Oh my God, MF Doom is gone, my man." He was an old. Yeah, he passed away. Yeah, that's my favorite MC.
And who was that? I don't know who that was. Say his name again.
MF Doom.
MF. Or maybe if I did, I don't remember.
Hard to explain. Independent rapper from he back in the 80s and early 90s, he was rapping with a group called Peach Fuzz. But he's Metal Fingers Doom. He's the super villain. He's a guy who always wears a metal mask.
All right. Okay. So yeah, his face. The pictures looked familiar, but it's like kind of like the mask from 300 kind of thing, or
It's
similar to
actually
that.
the mask from Gladiator.
Gotcha. My you're right. No, that's
They modified it and chromed it.
That's a cool looking mask.
It's sad. He's my favorite. I haven't mentioned it to anyone. I saw it this morning and was like, I'm just gonna keep this to myself right now.
49 years old, man. That's.
Oh, if his lifestyle wasn't the healthiest guy, like.
Yeah. Well, it
not
happens,
surprising.
but still, you see that, and you're just like, man, that's just. Anyways, So Cyberpunk 2077, you can. The developers actually claim that you can make the entire playthrough without actually killing anybody. If you want to go like full absolute stealth, there is a route through for all of that.
Same with Metal Gear.
Which is kind of cool because
there's hidden bonuses in the game.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't show you, but you get a hidden bonus if no one knows you were even there. So that's my favorite. No kills, super stealth.
Oh,
it's really hard. Like I'm resetting the game over and over.
Yeah, because you kind of have to if you're doing that. Speaking of games, Roe mentioned that they really liked the Altered State artwork because it reminded them of Zenyatta from Overwatch, who
a bunch of people said that to me. I had no idea what they were talking about.
And I didn't.
I'm not up to date.
Yeah, I didn't either, which I thought was interesting because then afterwards it's like, oh yeah, that is a multi-armed robot, but and some things have happened.
It's not the most original idea, guys.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else made the same thing about like our Dark Depths art. Basically, I told the guy, I was just like, you know what, he's not a T person, but he convinced him to work with us on this wrapper design, and I was just like, I just want, I want it to be in your style, and I want to just be this big multi-tentacled beast, like just coming up from the depths, and use your blues and pinks like you would. And then after it got posted, everyone was just like, oh my gosh, you must play Magic the Gathering. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that there was a card called Dark Depths in Magic the Gathering that's also like this beast like coming up from the bottom. And I'm like,
it's just a Leviathan.
Yeah. I'm really glad that I didn't see that. And the artist was glad that he didn't see that as well, because it would have changed how he he drew it. So I think the interesting thing was when we were talking about Stargazer, and I'll show that again for people who don't remember what Stargazer looked like. I had some thoughts in my head about how to do it, and I think I pretty much just gave you a rough idea of, like, okay, the T is going to be called Stargazer. I want there to be like a person using some sort of machine, or maybe the person is the machine, and it's kind of like a telescope, and they're just looking in space or something like that. It's kind of like the rough outline that I gave you. But in my head, I was totally thinking of what is it? The Traveler by Giger, which is the what do they call the big machine that they find?
The time traveler.
The time traveler guys, right? So that's in my head. I was thinking that, and then like when you came out with the art, and it basically looks really it basically looks really similar to that, or similar to the essence of that.
I was even thinking about it as well.
But I didn't want to tell you that. But in my head, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to tell you that. And then when you came out with the art and it looked like that, I was just like, well, that's just perfect. That's great. So I thought that was a fun little cerebral connection that we had there on that. So I don't even think I mentioned anything about like aliens or Giger or anything when I did that. But it was kind of cool that we saw that. Let's see what we got here. A couple of comments. A bunch of people want you to just, or one spool string wants you to just play all the Street Fighters. So there you go. There's that's a small task.
I played the Street Fighters since when they came out.
Yeah.
The original one. I was huge into. I remember going with my buddy Dwayne, riding our bikes down to spend all our money on Street Fighter 2 in a little convenience store.
Yeah, people make fun of the microtransaction.
No one has showed you.
Yeah, that's tough. People make fun of like the microtransaction things in video games as like gamers getting too greedy. They did not remember arcades in the 90s.
Yeah, like don't worry about it.
Buckets of cash in small metal coins went into those machines. Like just fistfuls of dollars got shoved into those machines just for one more play. Let's see. Ange says, late to the party, packing a guy one with some altered state, about to join us. R.I.P. Doom. That's tragic. He rules. Yeah, no, that's. I'm gonna have to check out some of his videos and get caught up on that. So that's.
I can't be sure if you'll like it. It's a kind of an esoteric rapper. Not his rhyme style and what he talks about is strange. Because if you like 80s stuff, you'll get a lot of the references.
Okay.
He references everyone from Billy Blanks to Bowflexes. So.
Well, like I said, it looks familiar. So I've maybe seen some of his stuff or heard some of it before, but I will I'll check out like a little best of thing. See what it's about.
Pretty low. Chances are pretty low you've heard anything. He did an album for Adult Swim that's all like teenage hunger for stuff.
You'd be surprised. I don't know. I've heard of. It's funny, like, I mean, Seattle's such a big, like, music scene, but I was, like, the only person in my entire friend pool that didn't, like, play an instrument, so that meant that I was just, like, I was always just the roadie. I've packed more gear into, like, obscure Seattle clubs and done security things and stuff, so I don't know, I'm sure I probably caught it somewhere in all of that. Let's see. Oh yeah, Heather says she doesn't do kids play Overwatch. They've got no idea. She doesn't do enough gaming. 90s, the 80s, stacks of quarters. Yeah, I used to. For me, it was.
Rolled my quarters to play video games and impress chicks.
I was I spent the 80s part of the 80s in Phoenix, Arizona, and for us it was a Peter Piper Pizza. Peter Piper Pizza was the local video game / pizza joint, and it was pretty close to our house. We could walk there, and it was always just packed and just game after game after game, and just I don't really find that social gaming thing much anymore. I mean, it's all everything's so online. You don't really sit around. I mean, even LAN parties don't really exist anymore.
I play CS:GO.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I play some CS:GO.
Yeah, but still, it's not like it's not
the N-word a bunch by white guys.
It's not a bunch of it's not everybody packed into a room anymore. I mean, I remember having to get a line to play Dragon's Lair or whatever, because that was like that was super fun. And then all the guys whatever, like the Konami Olympics one was, and they were always using like their combs on like both of the run buttons, so they twist it between so they could run like faster and stuff. And I just remember being like a young kid, like, oh, like, man, these guys are like pros,
I used to go to a place called the Wizard's Castle. That was the arcade, the local dark, seedy arcade.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man. It was playing video games. There was like a guy selling weed in the corner, like
Yeah, you just
Dirty urban city shit. It was awesome.
well, now even with COVID, even if there were places like that existed, because they're starting to bring them back. There's a place called around here called another castle. You know, like your princess is in another castle, and that's the old style.
There's an arcade here, too.
Yeah, but you know, with COVID, I mean, they can't
Right
be
downtown on
open.
Granville.
I mean, you'd be
Oh, I doubt it. Yeah.
which is tough. But even like the modern trend towards everything being online is kind of killed the whole gaming thing. Or I guess back then it was just like, I mean, you'd never be able to. You would never really be able to afford all of those games in your home, right? But now, like, you actually
Well, you didn't have the
can.
processing power.
Yeah, now
You didn't
you
have the processing power.
yeah, exactly. You know, you could. I mean,
Now
those machines
now
were
the
expensive.
Shit that I can play is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can play half of the stuff on what you carry in your your pocket. You know, like the mobile gaming
Yeah,
thing. It's
that's
just
right.
like
More than half
crazy.
of the stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything up until 2000, probably.
yeah, even some of
On
the
a phone, no problem.
yeah, no, that's it's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts when you think about that. You can literally play like every single thing ever made, for the most part. Yeah, so try and see if Cyberpunk 2077 will run on your phone. I think you'll really dig the gameplay. The aesthetic is I like the 80s style cyberpunk aesthetic that they kept with it, you know, because it was definitely based on like the original cyberpunk based tabletop RPG stuff, which was all using 80s elements and things, stuff from like Blade Runner and Neuromancer style and a lot of those things, and even like the cars and stuff are all kind of like 80s muscle cars, but then all just like teched out. I'm really into the vehicles. The vehicle designers that they got in that game is just so much fun. I just love the aesthetic of the vehicles in there.
That Metal Gear is the same. It takes place in '84 and has a bunch of like technology from that period. There's even like things called walker gears that are like literally that, like little walking tanks. Yeah. And they have that Johnny 5 short circuit kind of feeling to them. It's perfect. Everything has the right feel. The only thing that stands out is he used a thing called an iDroid that projects the map out. And you're like, yeah, that doesn't feel like the right time.
Doesn't feel like it might work.
But at the same time, I don't give a shit. I'm not playing a game because I think it's historically accurate or something.
So speaking of like actual like modern, like cyberpunk style technology, did you see the video that Boston Dynamics put out like a couple days ago, which is like a handful? I mean, the Boston Dynamics guys do like the dog robot and stuff.
Big dog, little dog, yeah.
Did you see the robot dancing video that they put out like this last week or something like that?
No, is it Pat-Man? Did they get their man guy?
They've got all of their robots dancing, and it is.
Those things are. Cool.
It's
also scary.
Beyond. It's beyond unbelievable. Like they make those robots look so like light on their feet. I mean, like they have like accurate like dancing footwork with not just like kind of like the older videos where they're just kind of like hopping around. I mean, like these things are graceful. And then like the dog robot comes in.
Oh, I'll check it out.
And it does this. They're actually like doing like the slide footwork that like Michael Jackson does. Like how would you? I mean, just the amount of programming it would take to get a robot to actually like slide, knowing how heavy those robots actually are. Because those things are ridiculously heavy, but to get them to be light enough on their feet that they can actually like slide. And the dog robot does this one thing where it's like it's sitting there, it's balancing on 2 feet, and then it flips, right? So its feet are going this way, and it's still dancing this way. And so like you've got to completely reverse like the way like that robot is handling balance in the code by flipping its feet opposite. And I was just shocked. Like and there's not really that much that just shocks me anymore, but just the amount of control and just the amount of work it would take to get those things to do that just blew my mind. Yeah.
All the stuff they're making is super impressive. I've drawn the big dog a couple of times and little dog.
So check it out. Their videos are always like pretty impressive, and you've been able to like kind of watch them kind of like work through their like tech progression and stuff. And a lot of it seemed fairly linear. It's like, okay, well this is battery technology is good enough now that they can do this, and then motors are good enough now they can do this. But like this was the first one where I was just like, wow, this is this is a big step. For me, it felt like it was a much bigger step than like a lot of the other stuff. I mean, they were doing some fun things like. Go ahead.
There's one technology that I saw. It's kind of like a Stirling engine they make for these little robots.
Yeah.
And the robot consumes on the battlefield or wherever any type of kind of, I guess, consumable, like something to burn.
Yeah.
To keep its engine running.
Yeah.
But it can even use like people. Right, like it can burn anything, and I kept imagining the big dog and that technology combined, just going through a battlefield, staying functioning the whole time, and it's like
I can
Terminator,
see that.
you know?
Yeah, Terminator
or with all the crushed skulls,
or even like I mean the Matrix plays into that whole like humans are capacitors, humans are batteries kind of thing, just tapping them in and sucking their energy dry. Yeah, that's
shitty batteries though. That's low energy.
Well, it's all a matter of scale, So I mean, that's why they had billions of humans stacked up and things like that. But no, that's we're basically living in the cyberpunk times. It just doesn't look that way visually. We don't have like that visual aesthetic.
I dress all in black and wear glasses at night, sunglasses at night and stuff. So it's fun. I feel like I'm in the future.
Yeah, but you don't have like a cybernetic arm yet, right? You gotta have.
Oh my God!
You gotta have something.
I would chop off my arm for one though. Other people wouldn't, but forget that. I would. In fact, the game is Solid Snake. The guy's got a robot.
Would it be right or left? Which one would you go for?
If I could still draw, I'd use the right. I don't care.
Yeah.
I want the left one though, and then I have a bionic punch.
You got a bionic. Yeah, dude, you got to get Cyberpunk 2077. You just got to figure it out. You can make your machine run it. I'm sure somehow. So.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I really want to play Death Stranding. That's the one that is stuck in my head.
That one looks really good. I still think
I like an unforgiving play. I like a game that it's almost tedious to play. So
okay.
And long. And people have said to me, "Oh, it's just like a walking simulator." I was like, "Yeah, my kind of game."
Lamo's not really familiar. Lamo's not really familiar with like the concept of RPG. This thing where you're playing a role. And I'm sitting there like spending like 45 minutes like designing my character when I'm starting to play Cyberpunk 2077. She wanted to like watch me play, and she's like, "Would you seriously just stop like tweaking like your nose and ears? Like just get into the game already. Like I want to see something."
You're like,
This is the game, right? So the funny thing is, I'll give you a note. It's a first-person RPG. You will almost never see what you look like, so it almost doesn't matter. The only choice that you make that you will see is the color of your fingernails, and I made them some stupid color, and now I hate it because that's all I see because it's your hand on your guns in front of you, so all I ever see is. So be careful with your choice of fingernail color. But so we get into the game, and she's just like, "This game's just talking," and I'm like, "Well, they're building the story." Like a half an hour later, she's like, "If you don't start like fighting something, like I'm just gonna go to bed because like I don't want to watch you just talk to a bunch of characters." It's pretty funny.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun to me. Metal Gear allows me a lot of options. Like any character you find in the field, you can pretty much play as. So I've actually made an army of like pretty women.
Nice. So there you go.
And then if you use them in the game, you can actually rank them up so they get better stats.
Okay.
So I've been doing that to certain ones, which is pretty cool. I even have like particular costumes. I like a white sneaking suit on a silver robot that I drive around collecting people, and I call her the Manhunter.
So I was confused for a second. I know you said Metal Gear, but in my head I heard Gears of War. So you're not playing Gears of War. You're Metal Gear. Okay, because they're making a I get it. Yeah, I played a lot of Metal Gear on the original PS1. I think Metal Gear, the first one or something.
I played it on the NES.
Woo!
Do you remember the NES?
I do remember the NES. I still have mine downstairs. I think. They're coming out with a Metal Gear movie.
Weird.
I think they're coming out with a Metal Gear movie.
In fact, in the one I'm playing right now, Kiefer Sutherland is the voice of Snake.
That's pretty cool.
The original guy.
That's pretty cool. I do really like that Keanu Reeves is in Cyberpunk. It adds a really fun touch.
I don't know if this will be that cool, but I like it. It's pretty good. Even if you look at Death Stranding, look at all the actors in that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. It is kind of strange.
Guillermo del Toro? What?
Yeah. Oh, Guillermo del Toro's in there? Oh, no. He's
in the game.
He's in the game? There is a reference.
In Metal Gear.
There is a reference to.
I saved Hideo Kojima.
He's in Cyberpunk 2077. Somebody found him in a bar, right? Like somebody's giving him a game pitch or something like that. I was just like, that's pretty funny. So we're about our hour is about up. If anybody had any final questions or anything like that for Alchemichael or myself, I can probably extend this a couple extra minutes. I'm having a lot of fun, man. This hour went by like.
Very fun.
Somebody said, considering how many of us enjoy the gardening aspect in some games, she doesn't think tedious is a bad thing. Yeah, there's a lot of gardening simulators in games. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it's one of the things in those games that I actually enjoy, just like wandering around and picking the flowers I need for resources. So
Yeah.
it's not
That's one thing I really enjoyed about the last like long format game I played was the first Red Dead Redemption, and I just loved like walking around, hunting, looking for
Wild, that Zelda game.
Yeah,
Blew me away.
I love the Zelda games. I'd really like to play that, but like I said, I've got a finite amount of gaming hours in a given year, and so I'm not, and I don't even have the system to play it on. How many different teas are in Altered State? Ange says, somewhere around 4 or 5, if I'm remembering correctly. I think that was what worked out well. Ro wants you to show your coolest teapot. What is the single teapot that you are the absolute most proud of?
Okay, I won't. The ones I'm most proud of, you might not find as beautiful. Like this one. I don't know. Can you see that one?
There we go. Yep, they can see that. It's got some kintsugi on it.
Kintsugi repair.
Nice.
So that's a Qing Dynasty teapot. This
Good
teapot
Lord.
is probably from the late 1700s.
Up a little higher.
1800s.
Up a little higher. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Nice.
So you can see, and it's well stained.
That is.
Been Kintsugi repaired. So
that is very cool.
That's my prize. I thought my wife's teapot is probably one you guys would be impressed with.
Wow.
And
that is delicate. Yeah, that's.
And it's also got a poem carved into the side.
Oh wow. See, that's something that Yixing. That's something that Yixing can get away with. Zhenshui just doesn't have the sand content, so it can't be as structural. So Zhenshui almost always has much thicker handles, just because they have to be thicker, because you can't. It's a pure clay. And says that's baller. There you go. You've got a baller pot.
Like a guy named Menchen or Manchen is the guy who made that design. You know, your Shipiao teapot. It's the same guy who made that design. Made this multi-armed one as well. I'll just show him more time.
Nice. Look at that, man. That is a super nice one.
It's a little hard to use, but it's gorgeous. And then what else? A friend of mine just gave me, he's from Chaozhou, and he thinks I should drink more Dan Chong, so he gave me this.
Look at that. I love the spot on that one.
Handmade Junie teapot. This is a very fancy, expensive teapot, too.
I've got one that looks something similar to that, but it's downstairs. I haven't... Do you ever have trouble figuring out like which teapot you're going to use? And how do you decide?
Well, it just depends on what tea I'm drinking.
Yeah.
That's because each teapot is only for one type of tea. So,
do you brew in gaiwans, or is it primarily teapots?
I have a few gaiwans as well. Like I don't know, they're behind me, like that. These kind of guys. That's
nice.
The shape I like the most, like a horseshoe shape.
I can't stand that shape. I can't stand that shape. I'll show you. I'll show you why.
Wide. You like wide and flat.
I like it. Yeah, I like it wide. I like it wide and flat, primarily because I've got sensitive fingers, and I find that the tall ones like make it really hot. But I find that the wide ones it kind of cools it off as it goes out. It's just my experience.
I can pour boiling water on my fingertips. And I have no issue.
And in fact,
that's good. Sometimes at work, if I mess up with the gaiwan, I just pour across my hand, and I don't make a reaction, so
you can't do it.
Still thinks I'm the tea master, you know. Everything's cool.
You got to keep going. You got to keep going. How about your cup? What's your what cup are you drinking with there?
Oh, the cup I'm drinking right now out of is a Japanese cup.
Okay.
I'm not sure how old, but I repaired it. If you can see the 2 silver staples.
Move it up
in
just a scratch higher. It's a little bit. Move it back a little bit. It's a little blurry. It's hard to see. We can see the staples, but yeah.
There's 2 silver staples
Yeah.
in it. Here. So I learned to fix teapots and
Look at you.
teaware with staples.
Nice.
So
Do you have to use a drill? You drill in the staple holes?
Yeah. I use a Dremel with a diamond tip.
Perfect.
And you're making shallow holes. They don't go right through.
Oh, okay.
So that it holds the material together. Yeah, like see inside the cup, there's no.
Okay, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. I
So
don't
it's an old Chinese way of repairing.
Yeah, I've
but
seen
I've
some
also been doing
pictures.
Kintsugi as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Let me see.
Is that just for yourself, or do you do commissions or anybody?
My boss at the tea shop, she broke her teapot, so I'm repairing that for her.
Okay. Yeah, people are always breaking pots and looking for places to send stuff. I've broken a handful of
I'm
handful
not
of
doing
things.
it right now for anybody but friends, because I'm teaching myself. There's no one for me to really learn from. So
Right.
it's a lot of self-taught stuff, which is my bag. I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, it's nice if you work around teaware, you're gonna break stuff eventually. I break stuff
also get
all the
it,
time.
I can get antiques that are cracked and stuff for cheap and repair them and make them beautiful.
Nice.
And give them more life.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
what I really enjoy. I like the extending their lives.
Yeah, we had a handful of stuff that got broken out of the kiln, and I sent it to a person who did kintsugi stuff and had them do some repairs, and then we auctioned them off on Instagram. So that was kind of fun to have stuff that would have otherwise just not been used anymore, get a second life. It's kind of a fun way to look at it.
What I drink out of this cup the most, but I have over here you can't really see, but there's quite a lot of different style like antique cups and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. These ones are pretty big. They're like bowls. I only drink green tea out of these mostly.
These are my two favorites. These are
Here's one.
bam.
This is oh, those are cool.
Yeah.
This is from Ming Dynasty.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So this is older than when Columbus got to Guantanamo Bay.
So the only old thing that I've got potentially is I think I've shown you before, like the strainer that I use, right?
Yeah, that might be Song Dynasty.
Potentially Song Dynasty, which is fun, but I've not really been able to find somebody who was willing to independently verify it, or at least independently verify it on record. I had some people in China who were telling me.
If I saw it in real life, I might be able to tell you, because I've held the real stuff, like 900,000-year-old
Nice.
bowls.
Nice.
So I have an idea what they're supposed to look like, but you could still trick me if you're a good forger.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like modern Gen John like goes for such a high price anyways, like the really high end stuff. I think if you really wanted to like try and like fake like Song Dynasty Gen John, you probably could, but I think like the effort it would take to do it
costs you the same amount
would
anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I did look into like carbon dating on stuff, but I didn't really realize that carbon dating requires you to have carbon
You need
in
the
there
soil around it.
in your soil or food or something like that might have been on a pot. But if it was just like a
Usually
pot
what
that was
stuff is buried with.
yeah, and so it's just like, well, you can't carbon date ceramics, because I thought it was really interesting. There was a trick that they used. But you had to take a piece off of it, and you had to figure out like what the water content in it was, because there's like a specific scale for like after a teapot is fired and it has no water content in there. I guess it actually reabsorbs water slowly over a certain specific amount of time.
That's interesting.
But they found out that during some of the fires and the bombings in London, that like a lot of the teaware almost basically got like refired in museum teaware got refired, and then they weren't able to accurately date that stuff anymore, because they were so it was basically they were like, man, this stuff is like dating as being like really young. It's almost like it was made in like the 40s. When there was large fires there because of the bombings, and basically the teaware pseudo got like refired because of the heat and lost its moisture content. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, if we're well, next time we have tea in person, or if we're ever up in Canada, or if you ever get down here and it's not COVID stuff,
Yeah, let me take a look at it.
I'll let you. I've got a handful of them. I saw a bunch in a shop, or not a bunch, but like about 5 or 6 or something like that. I'm like, those. I mean, they certainly had the emotion and the feel of what I would expect Song Dynasty stuff to look like. And I mean, they weren't cheap, but they weren't expensive either. But I picked up what I got, and then with the idea that I could have them like verified, and then the person who verified it like was totally fine with verifying it until I was asked to, if I could use his name on the record. He's like, no, you can't. I'm like, well,
that's kind of all of this stuff. You get into like generalities, like you generally have an idea, but you can't. To be 100%, you really gotta know.
Yeah,
like it's tough to. And it's really tough. Like even an old teapot. Like I spend a lot of time around old teapots, and I still am not. No, my teacher, man, he can look at it. I showed him a teapot.
Yeah.
Like, flashed a picture of one at him, and he was like, "That's a British one. That's in the style of Chinese, but isn't. That's not I Ching. That's mud from England." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like that's just amazing. Flashed you that image.
That's amazing.
But Daniel. Like
Daniel. Yeah, no, Daniel is. I think I showed this stuff to him, and he didn't really give me yes or no. He was just kind of like,
because again, that's it. Yeah. The Song Dynasty stuff it's hard to tell. Like it's really tough. Like for me, it's like the feeling and the color of the yellow part at the bottom, the foot.
Yeah.
That's where I get more of most of the stuff, because the lacquer part or the ceramic part over top is I don't know. I
had one interesting person tell me that it was probably Qing Dynasty, and I thought that was like specifically interesting because they weren't doing Zhenjiang between like the Song Dynasty and like 1980 or 1990, and he's like, well, they were, but it was illegal, and I was just like, oh, I thought that was really interesting.
There's a lot of stuff kind of like that. Like you think that they stopped doing it, but in fact, one small area was still producing something, or during that time period, someone requested specifically to have something done.
Yeah.
Because like remember, like tea scholars will make very specific requests. Like even personally, my friend. So when they make a Julanju shaped teapot, it looks like this.
Yeah.
You see this very, very tall button on the top,
right,
and very round body. So that's how most modern teapots of this shape, which is called Julanju, look. But my friend had one made for me in I Ching to the classical kind of standard.
Yeah.
So this looks like a Qing Dynasty teapot.
Nice.
But isn't, right? It was made last October.
Nice.
So people will request very specifics at different time periods, or I like these teapots, this little guy, which is also kind of a Julanju.
Yeah.
These are from Taiwan. They're using teapots, but they were made for Taiwanese collectors in the 80s.
Gotcha.
Who really like the style of Qing Dynasty teapots.
That's pretty cool.
They have a very rough kind of look, and you can even see tool marks and stuff still in them. They weren't totally cleaned,
right,
to keep that classic feel.
That's pretty cool.
So and that's my taste. So
I do. I mean, so we do the same thing. I mean, when we have teaware made, they'll literally make whatever I want them to make. I can send them exact shapes and sizes, and so I've been able to like pick and choose. I specifically construct it from like a utilitarian perspective. There's different teapots I've used that are like, okay, this is a gorgeous teapot, but like I just can't use it for making tea. It's just too awkward. And so that's where it came about. Some of the shapes and things that we did were all me trying to like.
This shape, this is my favorite because this shape is good for every single type of tea.
Nice.
You could pull off any tea in this shape, would have no issue at all.
Nice.
So it's a good all-around teapot. Plus, if you look at it, it's carved with.
I saw it's got the
heart sutra is carved into it, and that is lots of tea people love this shape with the heart sutra on it. My teacher has a few of the tea masters that I know all have them.
Nice.
So I was like, I need one.
You're like, I gotta be like the big guys. So.
I
Awesome.
want to be cool. Maybe I hope people think I'm cool too.
You're cool, man. You're cool.
When I bust this out, I actually brought this. I was at the tea shop serving a bunch of mainland Chinese people on Tuesday. And
Yeah.
They were all super impressed with that teapot. They WeChatted it. They liked it so much, and I
Nice.
just laughed. Just like, thanks, guys.
Nice.
And they also were like, "Oh, look at the foreigner make tea."
I get that all the time in China.
You guys are the foreigners.
Oh my gosh! Like so I'm in Jinshui. We've just came to check out our order of like 500 teapots or something or whatever it is. And, like I'm checking like each one by hand. I mean, these are specifically made like to my design, to my standard, and I really didn't want to pay extra for design work and stuff on there because I'm trying to make these like robust, like workable, like teapots for like the common Western drinker kind of thing.
Yeah,
and so
the common man.
Yeah, so I'm not like doing like the Jinshui thing with like 5 color clays and things like that, and doing all the inlays and the carvings and stuff, which are really nice, but all like add very quickly to the cost of the pot. And so, like this guy comes up, it's total, Chinese tea tourists, and he picks it up and he's sitting there. He's kind of like looking at it, and he's like, And he sets it down, and then he grabs another one, and it turns out like he speaks enough English, and he's just like, your teapot, my teapot, Jinshui, 5 color clay, your teapot, not Jinshui. And I was just like. I was so pissed. I was just like
get out of here, man.
It's just like,
yeah,
like
buddy.
I literally like it's. I'm in Jinshui, working with Jinshui artists, like making teapots, making teaware, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to say. I was just so mad, just like the absolute like arrogance of that, and I was just like, dude, still drives me nuts.
Funny thing, I was just talking about this same thing with someone, and I was like, it doesn't even bother me. Like I've had dudes lean over me and in Chinese say like, "Oh, dude, foreigners can't understand Chinese tea, can they?"
Yeah.
And but I think it's hilarious. It doesn't bother me that much. I find it pretty funny.
Oh, I get it.
Usually they are very questionable when they sit down with me,
Yeah.
and then I make tea, and by the time they leave, they're
Then
like,
they know.
"Wow,
Yeah.
you know tea and Chinese culture," and I'm like, yeah, I don't speak Chinese, but trust me, I care.
Yeah, we get that. There's tea is so deep rooted in the Chinese, like way of thinking and way of being and way of everything that for them to see somebody who is as into it or probably even more than they are, they kind of feel the need to like overcompensate. And so like I'll be dealing with some people in China that have realistically been in the tea business like 6 months, and like they think they're like super big dogs. They're like, dude, you got to check out this tea that I made. And I'm like, and then I try it, and it's just absolute garbage. And like all of his friends like know that the tea is like really bad, and they're sitting around there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into this tea. He's like, oh, you just don't know Chinese tea. And the friends are just like, yeah, dude, no, this tea's not good. But like, he just
that white guy knows.
They're just like, yeah, he knows. But
I find it I don't know. Maybe I'd be the same way if some Chinese guy was telling me about Scottish history. I'd be like, yeah, I guess I'll look that up.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to look at it. But
well, tea is like a kind of like an endless tunnel of knowledge. Like it just keeps going. There's usually when someone tells me they know something, it's because they don't, because everything's so general. Like you can say, yeah, teapots are always like this, but are they?
Yeah,
or tea. This is what green tea is, and you're like, is sheng pu'er green tea?
I do try to. Yeah,
we can argue about all the fine points.
I try to explain that to people that I don't. I mean, specifically even. I mean, or maybe especially in pu'er, I don't feel that there are any absolutes. Like for every single person that comes out and says this is this, like I can always find one way to show that it isn't. And so I find anybody who actually comes out and says like and starts dealing in absolutes, like I know that they don't know enough about tea yet, because I'm to the point where I'm like,
Actually,
Nope.
there's only one thing I would say there was an absolute on.
What is that?
Your water quality.
Yeah.
Just your quality of water. And everything else, I don't know, man. I can use a mason jar with
Yeah.
the metal lid and pour you some fine tea, man. It would be no problem.
I can see that.
Cool looking as this setup here. Nah.
But that's probably how like the majority of people in China drink it anyways, just in a mug.
You see
mug with leaves.
The Shagwan Flow Cha ad, and the guy just smashes it with a hammer and throws it into one of those.
Shagwan sells those hammers. Like Shagwan actually sells hammers. So I mean, they don't. Yeah, just go ahead, just do it.
I have stuff I gotta break with pliers, man. Like I got it. I gotta do it.
Yeah, no, especially Shagwan. That stuff is tough. Stuff is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is fun. I went far over the time, but there's just so much to chat with you about. And this is
Well, we can do it again anytime you want.
Final question. Ro wants to know what type of water you use for your tea, and we'll end it after this question.
Well, I'm lucky. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we have some of the finest water in the country, so I don't really have too many issues. But I still take my water and I put it into a big. It's almost empty, so I can show you.
Okay.
A big glass jar here.
Yeah.
That has a couple ounces of pure silver in the bottom of it. To
Interesting.
Help,
all right.
Reduce any growth in there. And I let that sit so that the lid is just linen.
Okay.
And so that allows
to breathe
an off-gassing of any chlorine.
Okay.
So that I don't have a chlorine taste.
That's pretty cool. So you get it straight out of the tap. You got a chunk of silver in there, and you let it off gas.
Sometimes I'll go buy a jug of like good spring water with a heavy mineral and add that so it all gets mixed up. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to start. This is 2021 is my year to start experimenting a little bit more with water and stuff. I know what I like, and I know where.
And you have a car. Go to different springs.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, like I said, I know what I like, but I'm talking about experimenting with water on a more like precise scientific level. I want to start like trying to like actually like construct specific stuff.
Make a chart.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
start graph some shit out.
Start playing around with some stuff because I know what I like, and there's
intuitive.
A spring down the street which is absolutely amazing. It's like about Jared, he's in chat here. Actually, half the people in the chat here from the Seattle area, they probably all know exactly the spring that I like to get my water from, but it's I haven't gotten it from there recently, so I've just kind of been slumming it with some Brita filtered stuff, which has been working fine for my needs. But I'm gonna try and change some stuff up this year. See what we can do. So
that's a nice color you got there. That looks like a sniper rifle.
I do. I love the matte black. I love the matte black. Yeah. This is a gorgeous
Look at that short handle. So it helps maneuverability and aim.
Well,
pretty awesome.
It has a very narrow spout, and it pours ridiculously slow. Sure. I wish it was just a little fatter.
I looked at them.
Yeah.
I looked at them on the internet and was like, well, because in fact, my electric kettle's dying right now, and I was like, do I want to spend real money?
And honestly,
I think mine was like $60.
The shape that they went with here is really nice to go in line with that, but when you're pouring a lot, having your hand already at this position means that you actually have to do like a lot more motion. Yeah. I find if it was this way, like I want to be able to hold it like this, right? So I want to be able to hold it like this so that I don't have to do as much like shoulder rotation. So if I'm holding this, like I can actually pour it with more. I'm actually starting to get some like interesting shoulder issues because I think it's because I spend like all my time doing like Gaiwan like this or teapot like that, and so it's not really it's not really a motion.
Let me see. At work, I do it like this so that I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I do this.
Okay, so you bring it around that way, so then you get carpal tunnel.
It actually, my arm feels.
It works.
No issue.
It works well like that. Okay.
for people all the time.
I'll have to play around with that.
The Taiwanese people, that's how they do it to look all.
I have, well, I have seen that too. So,
Yeah.
wow, look
Gee,
at all the
tea
places that we got into this in this little tea session. We've ran the gamut of tea presentation and water and tea wear and comic books and sci-fi and music.
Surface.
No, we could easily, and we'll probably have to have you on again. We can do a session with Stargazer, and we can chat some more. Chat some more about that.
I got a tongue of that kicking around here.
Yeah, that's the thing about designing tea wrappers for companies. They tend to send you the tea so that you can drink it and promote it and stuff when you're done with it.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
I will. I think we actually have a fairly full schedule for anybody who's following along. Got the next month figured out with tea guests, which is exciting. And the next one is the artist for Beneath an Emerald Sea. That's Sarah Brakefield, Twig and Snip on Instagram, and she will be here on the 8th, so a little bit more than a week away. So, well, this was great. This last tea interview for the year. We can close 2020 out and just call this year done. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the session, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you Michael. This was a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you, and follow me, Alchemichael, Instagram. Oh, and pu'er to the people.
That's right. I'll make a note of that because you've got a second Instagram. So
yeah, I decided to split them into two because
that makes sense.
I would post just as much as drawing. So
I will make a note of that in the. I'll make a note of that in the YouTube stream note on the page, so people can find you there. So awesome! Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and Happy New Year to everybody, and Happy New Year to you too, Michael.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
All right,
in the Middle East.
See you guys.